What's up, YouTube? We got Series 3 wagons from Greenlight. Amazing cars. We're all anticipating the new castings. The Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser, and they did a 1970 and a 72. Very exciting years for Oldsmobile full-size wagons. These cars, you could get a 455 in those 2 years in that car. A lot of fun. It was a full-size car, but still classified as an intermediate, sort of, because they still had even bigger cars on, I believe it was on the C platform, the 98s. So they did have that size. But this was a Vista Cruiser. They kept it through into the 70s. And we'll look at those. But we'll start with the castings that have been out so far. The Nomads. And then we got two Ford Motor Company. We got the LTD in non-wood grain. Second time that's been done. And then also an exciting new front end for the Mercury. We got an 85 Mercury Grand Marquis Colony Park. So we got some good stuff gonna happen real soon. Let's get out the Chevys and take a look at the packaging. I'll tell you, I really haven't bought these but by themselves, these Chevys, but it was cheaper. It was a little bit more economical to ship the whole case together than it was to buy them separately or try to piece the set together. So even though I don't collect these castings, I'm kind of glad I got them. We'll take a look at this one first. I think this is the most basic type of what do they say? This is the 55 Nomad, which is a low production. His first year for Nomad was 55, and this one represents what they probably would mostly look like. A two-tone white top and the body spear on there. That would have been in chrome. You got white walls, kind of like a generic wheel cover, close to what a Chevy would look like. They did do the body color around the wheel, so the hubcap would go almost to the end, but it wouldn't cover the lip of the steel wheel underneath, and that was usually painted the body color, so that's kind of cool. Clear headlights. We got the hood ornament, and that's part of the body casting, which is very nice. This one's a sealed body, nothing opens on it. I think this casting might predate, I think, the wagon series, but I'm not for sure. Definitely wasn't used much, but it does have like a little bit of a narrow track on it, which they use a thicker tire. This is the tire that came out on those Ford Crown Victoria wagons and stuff like that, so they're using it here, but it's a little bit narrow to represent how the wheels were tucked in on the 50s cars. So that's a Nomad. Let's see if we can get down on it a little bit. There we go. Make sure this stays up for us. Let's see. Make sure. There we go. So yeah, good looking car. Separate chrome bumpers. This one's got the serial number on there. So there's our Nomad. And another cool car. Now this would be a more popular vehicle, be a more common vehicle. Wagons were still common back then in the 50s. It was just that most of them are steel body at this point. And that's a two-door wagon, but they also had four doors, which is more common. But that roofline, that was a more traditional Chevy wagon roofline, unlike the Nomad, which had that special rear deck with the separate tailgate, and it was all different. They had this where it was more traditional. So we'll take this one out. This is a 1955, so same model year. And it's a 210 Handyman, so this is more like a base type vehicle, but usually ones that were more bought through volume. A lot of volume on this car. A lot of cars, and they would use this, not only for private use, but a lot of commercial uses too. A lot of delivery vehicles, a lot of vehicles that carried people for job sites even. This could have been an engineer's car, could have been a coroner's car, could have been in law enforcement. Car like this could have worked for the city, government vehicle. It's used in the military. They had these 210 Handymans. So it was like basically like a two-door 210 post car, which was a two-door, which had that pillar there, and the coupe. So it's kind of much the same thing forward of the pillar here. Pretty much the same all around. So it looks good in the black. I kind of like that. They did a lot of other colors, but the black looks very good on this car. So this will look good on a layout. Very nice looking cars. Very nice. Same construction as the Nomad. Just a different body. They do look nice together. They look very good. And these cars had wide engine choices. You can get inline 6 all the way up to a V8. V8, they did the new small block in 55 overhead valve. So interesting lineage. So you could get that. Usually these two cars, Nomad would have a 283 V8 in it, or a 265, something like that. And then most of the 210 cars had inline 6 motors. So very interesting little cars. Good American history right there. All right, we're gonna get on to some more interesting subjects. At least for me, I like the later model stuff. Usually later 60s into the 80s. It's good stuff. But here we go. So we're carrying on some more Crown Victorias. I always like doing them. Seems like there hasn't been a set yet, pretty much without the Crown Vic or a Grand Marquis in the set. So this is Series 3 again. And number 3 here, 84 Crown Vic LTD. What's cool about this is it has the cream paint. And they tried to do the later model wheel covers, but they put the red center caps in, because in the mid 80s on the Crown Vic it had those little bit of a red center in there for Crown Vic. So 84 LTD Series 3, and they all have pretty much the same back, and you can see the vehicles that come in. We're going to get to the Oldsmobile soon, but I don't think they've changed the back since the first series. So take this bad boy out. Had the pleasure of looking at these earlier to see if I noticed anything about them that was off, but sealed case set, so no green machine, but I did have a nice clean set. No big issues with them in terms of quality. Rolls good. You know, the red in the center sometimes not always exactly in the center, but this is an interesting car. They'd sell cars like this without the wood grain plenty of times. What's interesting about this one too is it has a black interior. A lot of times that probably would have been a lighter color, but interesting with the black. We got a cream white, and has the 84 specific emblems that Ford had, but at that time they had the blue oval in the back. And then no side mirrors, and then the 84 grille, which I think after 83 or 82 they changed this type grille. Up into the 87 it looked like this pretty much. So a good looking car. You can get a 351 in here, 5-liter, either one of those two motors. I think in this year you could do that. Also though, on this one they deleted the roof rack, so they're trying to do like kind of like a based out car, completely based, not even white walls on this thing. So interesting. It'll go good with the Victorias. And what is this, number 4832, flat base. So we got our Chevys, and now we're going to get to an exciting casting. So this is going to mimic stuff that they're going to be doing 1/18 scale. Got to remember that. And they kind of upscale these cars pretty accurate in terms of what how they look from 1/18 to 1/64, which is cool. So this is the package. I already took it out. 85 Grand Marquis. 85 is fuel injected. And this car seems to sit higher than the 89 that I have, which we'll look at in a second, just to see the difference in the grille in case you forgot. But again, like the LTD, up until 87 had this square headlight design. That this one really didn't change from when the Grand Marquis downsized with the LTD in 79. So it's very close to what the 79 looked like. Basically, you tell these cars very easily through the trim, and then the dashboard would change through the years, and the seat panel, door panels, all that stuff. Operating tailgate, stiff. I'm not going to force it. Some of those tailgates drop easily, and some of them don't. Of course, you get the hitch. Colors are done spot on. Had this maroon. This one is a metallic, which they didn't really have like a heavy flake like this one is, but you can see the crispness. I just wanted to show off that grill. It was smart. Basically, Greenlight approached these cars just like the manufacturers, meaning that they could spend the money where it counted on engineering this car, and then instead of having to change it year by year, they kind of picked platforms that really just needed nose changes and just bumpers and stuff and wheels. So that's easy to tool up in plastic, change the dies for that, and then put them on the same body. So again, very good. I'm just putting it in the light here a little bit so you can see the car. I love it. I like these Grand Marquis. I think they look really good. You can see how sharp that looks in the camera. And the grill is just awesome. See, what's cool about these, what they do is they're pressed in plastic, and then they chrome plate it, and then they'll paint over it. So the chrome is really under the paint, and then they'll paint over after masking it, or however they figured it out. But it makes for a better presentation instead of it being painted on. And they can really get those grills done. So I think they might have cracked the code for getting these type of cars done without them having been too distorted like in past attempts on these vehicles, especially with the thin pillars that the 80s had and all that. So just an awesome car. Colony Park script on the rear quarter. Look at that. So they did a turbine wheel. See, back then they did have, I think 85 did carry this aluminum wheel, so it's very similar to the wheel that carried out into the cars after they got changed in 92. So again, you can use it. And then when you look at it just with the 89 here, which was changed in 89 after 88, you can see the difference. So it's awesome. Awesome stuff. I also like the fact that they darken the interior. They don't have that unrealistic brown, although usually a dark red Colony Park's going to have red interior. It's not going to have tan like that, but you could get it that way, I suppose. But definitely probably would have the red. So definitely more of these in the future. Got to get another one of them. So wagons, I love them, as you know. So now we're going to get to the exciting stuff. So this is basically brand new casting, debut, Series 3. They got right to it. I mean, Greenlight didn't hold any punches this time. They're getting right to the getting going. So Series 3, they're already introducing a new casting. A lot of new castings this year. But look at these bad boys. And we're going to open them up together so we can look at the differences. Because there's the subtle, and I'll show you that engineering at the body. So we got the 70. And then we have the 72. So, and they did make the changes. And they even did 2 different wheels, which is awesome. So they did bumpers, wheels, and then colors. So 2 different ones. And then here's the 72. And I was looking at the body and I said, well, that rear door looks really long. But I had to remind myself they did lengthen the wheelbase. It was a special wheelbase, special rear track width on these cars from the Cutlass. So even though it shared sheet metal, it had its own, longer frame and all this and the other stuff. The suspension's a little bit different. So we'll just take a look. So let's start with the 70, and then I'll show you the differences between the two. Basically, this body style was debuted in 68, this type of body that they're using. And this was in 1970, so it looks similar to those cars that came out with the split grille, which was an Oldsmobile trademark. But they did paint the headlights white. And again, that's that chrome where they'll go ahead and paint everything. So go ahead and do that. And then we got the beautiful wood grain. where it says Vista Cruiser, and it has a unique the hubcaps for 1970. It's got a light tan, almost yellow interior to match the bronze paint, and the Vista top, of course. So in '68, when this car came out, this body style, the Vista top has been used for a while, but with this body style, they're able to make this all one piece instead of it being split in the middle. So that was a first for the body style. See that long rear door. This one's got the roof rack. It's also got the wraparound glass on the rear side glass too, so you can see how that comes up. It's a light metallic too. This yellow's got some in it, as you can see. If you're not getting the most reception on YouTube, just turn it up. You can go up to 1080 on this, I think. So they also have separate license plates, which we'll look at. Tailgate operation, they concentrated at. I think they learned from some of the issues with the LTDs and everything. So this one operates great, and so does the blue one. Goes up nice and smooth. With certain trims on this car, especially if you had a third row in this, because that was an option, getting a third row seat, you could have the dual magic tailgate, which would swing out or down like a pickup. So that was kind of cool. That was one of the options they had. The larger size wagons that they used in General Motors, that tailgate went into the base, or into the floor pan, and that was a little bit different. But on these cars, it was more traditional. The other thing is the hood piece is cast separately because the hood did change, and we'll look at that when we look at the 72. So even though the hood looks like it opens, it does not. It's probably riveted in there, but they're able to change the hood profile. So it's not just the plastic parts on this car that can change. This one is number 4894 serial number, and they have some production casting marks there, so I think it's like dates or whatever. They also are using that newer tire, so it's a little bit thinner, a little bit to scale, a little bit more to scale. It's huge. It's not white walled. It rolls pretty good. Has a little bit of a rub, but I'll look at that later. But it's just a great car, you know. Everybody's probably going to be getting these. You can see the separate license plate that they glue on too. So a lot of different pieces on this thing, I must say. Even the front is done. So there is a 70. So in that year, you could get on the Vista Cruiser, because it was a step up trim level. Started with the 5.7 350 Olds Rocket, so it was Oldsmobile block back then, 350, and then you could get the 400 6.6 liter, or you could do a 455. So you get a lot of good motors back from Olds back then, a lot of torque. This thing would have pulled wherever you wanted. And here's a 72. So the 72 has got its own hubcap design, and they're starting to make those hubcaps that came more out in the center instead of being flat. They also had their own grille and bumper design. You could see it had square running lights, or the 72 had circular ones. And of course the grille design, the cross hatching was a little bit different. It was a little bit more opened up on the 72. And then you can see the hood profile. So the construction of the car is the same as the 70 we looked at, but you can see they wanted to emulate the high-performance Cutlass models by doing the dual humps versus the single flat there. They're just trying to differentiate the car a little bit more. This one's done in a slight metallic blue, and you can see that a little bit there in the light. Blue interior, which I like this car. It looks really good in this color. Again, nice and 70s look to it. Separate plastic panels were glued on to the tailgate, just like on the yellow car, and you can see the interior there. So very nicely detailed. You can see those are panels. This one probably had the third row option. It's down there, it's folded in, but those are how those panels looked, and you can easily super detail this car. Just gotta basically get that rivet out, and she'll pop out. It's just a really nicely operational tailgate. We'll see the rear script there. See if we can get this to focus. Yeah. So you can see that, the Oldsmobile on the tailgate. Just a lot of fun to look at this car. Just as nice to look at this car as it is a larger scale. And they even paint the headlights white. So, really, really good stuff. A lot of fun. Huge car. I mean, if you look at it from their contemporary casting from the Grand Marquis, same thing. Colony Park size. I love how they how detailed the roof rack is and everything, but just a great looking car. Very excited. I think Series 3 is probably one of my favorites since the debut. When I first saw the Crown Victoria platform, I think it was late last year that it came out. But look at these things. These are going to be amazing. Hopefully I've come across some more. And I'll be taking them up. I'll be definitely buying them. So we got some more cars coming. Of course, there's a lot of stuff coming out from Greenlight and others. And I rounded up my team transports finally, so we got that going. But today it's all Greenlight. And hope you enjoyed it. Till next time.